What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel on our 2024 Icebear Champion build for the Great American Monkey 1000. Been pretty busy since we last showed you some content here, but here she sits. And I want to go through real quick before we kick off our first project for this one and show you kind of what I did behind the scenes. All right, if you remember when we last left off, we had just kind of finished installing that 2-inch extended swing arm from Bart Motoco that kept speed. We got our 12-inch rear wheel on, but I did leave a few things undone. I didn't hook up the brakes, brake stay, and I've got a chain on there, ready to go with that. I haven't counted the links on it. I just cut it to size. Eventually I'll get that number and share it with you guys in case you're building a similar setup. I do have the back wheel strapped down right now because the front end's jacked up. We're gonna put a new wheel on the front here in a little bit. Pretty much got all the wiring buttoned up on everything, and got a new handlebar set up here with quite a few changes. This is a set of Reinstalling handlebars, again from Bart Moto. I got these risers again from Bart Motoco. Got our mushroom grips, that's what they're actually called. They're actually quite comfortable. Another thing I've done, because we're running this Nibby twist throttle assembly, which by the way, it's like a short throw deal. So you don't have to turn it as far as you would a standard one to get the wide open throttle. Because of that, I ran into some problems with switch gear. The stock stuff that came on the Icebear wasn't quite, things weren't lining up the way I wanted them to. So what I've done is, I've done away with the stock one that came with the bike. I've added this one here, which I think looks better anyway, being black. And that housing is metal, it's not plastic. And what I like about it is it's got this nice little cancel button. So you turn your blinker on, when you're done, you just push that white button and it pops it off. Of course, you've got your high-low beam. But one of the other issues was that I couldn't fit really a full-size switch over here. And if you have one of these, you would note that there's only two things on the right side control that come stock on the bike. One of them is a start button, a starter button, and the other one is a kill switch. So I made a little trade-off here, decided I didn't need a kill switch because I could kill it with the key. And what I've done is I've purchased just a red button. Again, I think it kind of ties in nice with how I did it over there. But it's one of those that's meant to clamp around your handlebar. So what I did is, let me get around here where you can see a little better. I used the brake master cylinder back half, and the front half of that clamp for the brake master cylinder assembly I replaced with that switch. And it bolted up perfectly. So again, saved me a little bit of space there. So I am really happy with how that all turned out, and anxious to take it for its first ride with that new setup. The other thing I did was, if you remember when I put the big Bart Motoco exhaust on there, I couldn't get it started very easily because it was essentially, it opened it up so much it was just running way too lean. So I went in on that Nibby carb, which I was running the stock out of the box jets, which I don't remember what they were, but they're on the card that comes with it when you buy it. And I updated the pilot jet to a 35 and the main jet to a 100. And it was just a couple steps up on each one. And then got it running, ran well. I noticed I had a little bit of a flat spot where it seemed like when it comes off the idle jet and kind of goes onto the needle, leading into the main jet. So I raised the needle up one more position. And out of the box, surprisingly, the needle was raised all the way up to right before the last position. So I raised it up one last notch, which means it's raised as high as it'll go. And I'm not gonna make a call on that until I take it for a ride. And then you may have noticed that I've got that dorky looking mid-mount fender off there right now, because I'm going to explore some options on getting that high mounted. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. Let me get this, get some tools here, get some things set up, and we're going to get busy. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pop this front wheel off here real quick. I've got this jacked up a couple inches in the air to make it easier. Your nut on the axle is a 14 millimeter. The other end of the axle is a 13. And then I actually saved this piece from the brake caliper. If you remember from the video when we assembled this, it's a little packing piece to keep the piston from compressing. I'm gonna slip that back in there once I slide this assembly out. All right, that axle's sliding out of there nice and easy. Remember, you're gonna have a spacer over here on the brake side. Just gotta keep track of that. Your spacer for this side is your speedometer drag gear. And I've got the wheel out. I'm gonna get that out of the way, maybe. And then slip my little packing spacer in here. Yeah, see, there we go. Just in that little short time period, that piston had already come in a little bit and compressed. So you need to figure out something on that. If you didn't save that spacer, you have to use some other device. Okay, so at this point, we need to swap this hub over to our 12-inch rim that I've got put together on the other end of the table here. So stand by and we'll do that real quick. Okay, like I said, we've got to pull this hub out of here, and we're going to reuse that in our new 12-incher. You only need one tool to do this. On this side, it's a 14 millimeter bolt. The nut actually is recessed inside the hub here, so you don't have to really worry about holding that. So I'm going to zip that off really quick like. Okay, got those out of there. And there we go. Now you're gonna want to secure these 4 nuts that were on the back side of the hub. We have to reuse those. And there we go, got all 4 of them. Get this out of our life. Actually, real quick, let's take a quick glance at the difference here. It's just a bit of a difference. Okay, we got our new one. Got our 4 nuts that we reused. And those go, you see they got a little nut shaped thing. Those just drop in there. If you remember when I did the back rim, I told you that the bolts that come with the stock hub were too short because this aluminum wheel is a lot thicker. And so I've purchased 30 millimeter bolts to use instead. And these are an M8. So let's get this, I'm gonna borrow some hardware, these washers off the old bolts. Okay, I got them all. All right. And then this is fairly self-explanatory, right? You've got a little lip here and you line it up with the lip here and drop it in and bolt it all together. So let me knock that out real quick and we'll get this thing mounted back up on the front. All right, there you go. Let's slap that puppy back on the front, see how she looks. pulled that shim out of the brake caliper, and I just got this kind of sitting up here so we can get it in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put my spacer in on this side, and then kind of get this going here. And there's 2 ears in there that you'll see. We've covered this before when we put the bike together. You just got to get that lined up. It'll be fairly obvious when it is. And then we just kind of ease this in there. Hope that the stars align. And appears that we're struggling a bit with the brakes there. You know, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zip that caliper off real quick, and then I'll put that on after the front wheels all mounted up. You always learn something new when you're doing this. Okay, got that brake caliper out of the way. Probably should have did that in the first place. I was just trying to save a little bit of time. So we'll get this lined up, get the axle going. There's a little stay over here for your speedometer gear. Make sure you get everything lined up in that as well. I actually punched that through a little too far. There we go. Almost got it. This is one of those things that would be a bit easier with an extra set of hands, but I'm going to raise that up to account for the bigger wheel. Probably should have done that too. And yeah, because we're going to start cooperating. There we go. Okay. Nice. No rubbage. Everything works like it's supposed to. We zip this axle nut back on here. 14 millimeter. All right, gun set to German torque specs. Let's go. Good to go. Okay, I'm going to slap that caliper back on and we'll take a look at this. Okay, got her back mounted up on the front there, back on the table. Boy, doesn't that look good. So I'll just kind of give you the big overall picture here real quick with the 12 inchers black with the silver hubs. I like the silver hubs. You feel free to comment if you think otherwise down in the comments. But does look a little off without a fender, but let's talk front fender for a minute here. Okay, front fenders. This is what came on the bike stock, and if you remember, it was kind of a mid-mount deal. It wasn't all the way up like a stock CT70, and it wasn't tucked all the way down on top of the front tire like some of the earlier model Champions were, or even like your European Daxes. What they've done is they've got this bracket here. This bolts onto up underneath the bottom triple tree, just like a stock fender would. And you know, truth be told, it's not bad, other than I just didn't like the fact that it was lowered. And the other thing, this is a stock, it's a reproduction Honda CT70 fender, but it is, for all intents and purposes, the same as a stock one as far as mounting goes. And if you notice, this one here has got some shapes on top of it to account for the bottom of the triple tree, whereas the one that came on the Icebear Champion is smooth. So it's really not possible to just bolt this to the bottom of the triple tree like you would a stock Honda fender. There was a guy on one of the Facebook groups that used to make a little adapter block that made it really simple to do that. I reached out to him the other day. He said he doesn't make them anymore. There just wasn't enough demand. So if everybody gets on board, maybe we can get them to make them again. But in the meantime, I pulled this off one of my other CT70s, and I'm going to go ahead and this has extra holes in it. Normally there's only 2 because I've had it mounted on some different stuff. This is kind of my test fender to move around on different configurations. I'm going to go ahead, and this fits pretty darn good. I'm going to mount that up to the front using the stock bolts that came with the bike and see how that looks. All right, guys, my plan worked. Got her mounted up there. It is very, very stable and secure, and I can't say that I hate the new look. I think it looks a lot better. What I ended up doing was, remember I told you I was going to reuse those bolts, and between the fender and the bottom of the triple tree, you can see I've got 2 M6 washers in there, and that got everything to the point where it's snugged up real nice, didn't bend anything, and you can see it is not going nowhere. So yeah, really happy with how that turned out. So that's going to pretty much take care of a good portion of the mods that we had planned for this. I think next steps are going to be getting some racking systems put together and figuring out the auxiliary fuel. Oh, I guess I'm looking over at my shelf. I got a couple other little Easter eggs for you still, but we're not gonna get into that today. Okay, guys, like I said, I think that's gonna pretty much do it for today. Like I said, I'm really happy with this, and I'm dying to take this thing on a real test ride. I've only put 1 kilometer on it since I got it. So I think I may wrap this up, take that bad boy out for a little test drive. And just remember, if you're not subscribed, it doesn't cost you a thing. Hit that button, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.